Hello, Kathrine. It's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm really doing well, Elisha. How are you?
I'm doing quite fine, and thank you so very much for being here. You see, I truly appreciate you. And you see, Kathrine, oftentimes I love to thank my guest for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become my anthem. So, firstly, I want to say thank you so very much, Kathrine, for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you did invested in yourself. And oftentimes I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. They say some couple of months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, Catherine, there was this very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, just recently, Catherine, I was on that same road. And this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree, you see. The mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance. And immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did, and it wowed me. Because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches, and not just mangoes now, Catherine. I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a lovely experience that day. I was so excited. Here is my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Catherine that you are today, that alone has made it impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got the request from me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing, your philosophies, your insight, the impact your work is having, and how you are offering your solutions. These stuffs are beautiful. And just before I sent you that request, Catherine, I said to myself, I've got to benefit from these beautiful things Catherine is doing. And not only me now, because I don't want to be selfish, and with the audience as well. So thank you so very much for doing that yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing Elisha could do about it. Thanks so much.
You are so welcome. Again, thank you for having me on.
Beautiful. So let's get started. You see, I'm quite excited to have you on the show today for two reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, Kathleen, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information, and not just knowledge now, but the application of it. And you see, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge, in darkness, ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking. Why? Because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. And the second reason why I'm excited to have the incredible Catherine on the show is for the sake of the audience. They say we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got a lot of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, high-opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced, Catherine, that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or your professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Kathleen got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Kathleen, over to you.
Great. Thank you. Well, I am a licensed clinical social worker, and here in the States, that translates into the work that I do as a clinical therapist. I started this work about 2 decades ago and working with a variety of individuals who we classify as vulnerable populations, children and adults who are dealing with really difficult situations in their life. And my career led me into the path of opening my own office and offering counseling services specifically to individuals who are impacted by autism and ADHD. And I now am the executive director of that agency. We have 4 offices, 2 in the state of Utah and 2 in the state of Texas. And about a year ago, I took many of my experiences as a business leader and as an executive and just as a person, and took a lot of those experiences and put them into a book. That book is called Keeping It Real, and it really is my journey toward authenticity and figuring out who I am as an individual, all of the different aspects of who I am, and why I am that person, and recognizing that what features of that came from other people, what features of that came from other influences. And as I began to discover that, I began to discover the truth of who I was. So I was able to shed the expectations that our culture or society puts on us. And I was able to really emerge as a real true version of myself. And so that continues in the work that I do today. I've recently developed a curriculum for individuals who struggle with executive function problems. And I think that work of authenticity really blends well with executive function difficulties that people have as well.
Beautiful. And I must say this, you are doing so much and you're so, so amazing. I tell you, the world needs many more people like you. Thank you for the wonderful stuff you're doing, Kathrine. So you mentioned something, executive function. What is executive function?
Executive function is an advanced level of functioning that the brain operates in, where things like problem solving, organization really come into play. And so we know that many people in our world struggle with these things, and it manifests as difficulty. Maybe you're a procrastinator, maybe you keep putting things off, or you're lacking motivation, or you're just really lack the skills to stay organized. And whether you're a student or an executive of a company, those types of deficits can really impact you and limit the amount of success you can have in your life if skills and strategies aren't developed to maneuver through those situations.
Awesome. That's a beautiful one. So why is it so important in daily life?
Mm. It really is. I get so many people that come to see me that talk about the day-to-day struggles that they're having. I'll give you an example of a woman that came to see me a little while ago, and she said that she was a very high performer in her high school years, in her teen years. She, got good grades in her academic work. She was involved in extracurricular activities. She did quite a bit. And then as she got to college, she began to struggle with the organization, and she got through it. She just had to put in extra effort. And then she got married and began to raise a family. And that's really where the cracks started to show. She had this new baby and came to me just in tears. She said, I can't keep up with anything. I don't know how to organize. I just sit on my phone and I scroll all day. I'm not getting things done. And so the laundry is piling up, and the sink is full of dishes, and she's not giving the attention to the baby that she'd like to. She's not giving the attention to herself that she needed to. And so that's a really good example of how the deficits of executive functioning really do impact a person from day to day.
Thank you for sharing that. So let's talk about focus. What is the focus blueprint? Can you talk to us about that?
Yes. I'm really proud of this work. The Focus Blueprint is a program that I've developed to help people, specifically teens and adults, who are struggling with some of those things I just described. And it is a program where they are able to meet with a trained professional. In fact, this professional is a licensed therapist. So they have many, many years of skills that they've acquired and academic knowledge to understand how the brain works. And so that clinician will meet with them as a coach and develop a customized plan for the individual. And that customized plan then leads them through a journey of focusing on the areas where they struggle the most. They'll learn immediate strategies that they can put into place right away. And these strategies are designed to just really be instant. They can take them home and begin to develop them. And then what we really love about the program is that we have additional support that can come alongside them. And that additional support can reach out to them during the week and say, hey, Elisha, what are you struggling with? Are you not able to do the program? Or maybe just cheer them on in their success. But having that accountability partner is a really crucial element, because it's kind of like learning a new language.
Yeah.
And if you're feeling isolated in that, and maybe you didn't have such a great go of it the first time that you tried it, you really need that additional support. And so they get to walk through this program with that accountability partner, with their coach, and learn how to develop some really successful strategies that will stay with them for the rest of their lives.
Wow. And that sounds so effective, and I love that. So what about this one? What causes procrastination?
Oh, well, it's a little bit, it can be several things. Sometimes there can be a value system that is underneath it, a value system where an individual has, this goes back to my work on authenticity, that sometimes we have the expectation that has been put on us that we're supposed to do something, but we don't necessarily hold that to be true in our values. We don't hold that to be a really important thing for us. And so if it isn't important, then the brain will continue to push it down to the bottom of the list. Now, that can be one reason for procrastination. Another reason can be that there's something called sluggish cognitive tempo, which means that sometimes the brain just really doesn't have the stamina to do something that it views as really hard. And so the brain will just kind of sit back and say, oh, no, I don't want to do that. No. And it will find other more exciting things to do. And our phones are one of the worst things that it grabs onto, because there's so much stimulus that comes from those devices. And so we get that, and it lights up the brain, and the brain just continues to put the thing that you really needed to do at the bottom of the list. And so we have these strategies that we can use, these tools that we can use to help the brain overcome that, to help the mind understand that, first of all, maybe it's not as difficult as what they thought. Maybe it's just a distorted way of thinking about the situation. But it also could be that they don't have the ability to sustain attention. So
Mm.
maybe they're thinking that I've got this big project to do and it's going to take me 2 hours. And so they just can't get the motivation for that. But when we teach them how to break that down into manageable steps, their brain can kick in the motivation for 10 minutes, and they can build it into a system that creates a much more approachable, a much more accessible way of managing their life.
Wow. You're really shaping the world with your solution, because I tell you, a lot of people are suffering from this. Okay, so let's go back to executive function. So, how does ADHD and autism affect executive function?
Well, though executive function deficits are one of the most common issues with ADHD specifically, and it also bleeds over into autism. There's a lot of mystery behind these things, Elisha, in terms of how is this working? Why is the brain doing what it is doing? But to simplify it, the brain is giving attention to things that don't have high value or what it thinks has high value and not able to give attention to these other items. And so sometimes what has to happen is the individual has to curate an environment where they are optimizing their brain's ability to manage the input that is coming in. So, with an individual with ADHD, inattention is a very common issue. Sometimes hyperactivity is another issue that comes along with that. And so, if the brain is really searching and constantly kind of scanning the horizon for things to focus in on, then it makes it really difficult for it to sustain attention with these tasks that are maybe not as enjoyable. They're a little bit more mundane. I don't know about you, but doing laundry is not the most exciting thing in the world. And so it can make it a little bit tricky for the brain, when maybe there is something more exciting on the horizon. Maybe searching the internet, watching YouTube videos lights up the brain in a different way. So the person with ADHD, the person with autism just has a harder go of it when they are trying to give that sustained attention.
Wow. Listening to you speak, it just keep exposing how good you are at what you do and how experienced you are. So I've got to say, thank you for the wonderful stuff you're doing again. So what lessons have you learned as a leader?
Oh my goodness. So many lessons, so many lessons. I think that one of the most profound lessons that comes through leadership is that every leader has their style, and their style comes from their own experiences. Again, going back to that value system of what they believe is important. The challenge in leadership, however, is to learn what is important to the people who you are leading. Because if you are only highlighting what is important to you, you're going to miss some things. And the people you are leading may not feel attended to, they may not feel recognized or noticed if you aren't giving attention to the things that they value as well. So that's been a really important lesson for me through my journey.
And it's really profound. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so we have one more to go. Okay, so how can leaders help their teams thrive?
Well, I think that it goes back to what I was, just saying in terms of curiosity. I use that word a lot with my team. I think that as a leader, it is, one of the first steps that I can do to build trust. I have to have trust with my team. They have to trust me. And one of the first steps that you can do with that is to become curious about them, learning about them, learning about what is important to them, learning about what influences they have from previous jobs. We talk a lot at our company about the baggage that we all carry around from job to job. And even though they may be in a really positive, nurturing environment in our team, they still have the influence of some of the experiences that they've had before that may not have been so positive or nurturing. And so as a leader, I build that trust with them. I really genuinely want to get to know them. I'm curious about them because I believe I can learn from them. And so it flips the table to where they become the teacher in some sense in the beginning of the relationship, and I become the learner. And as I do that, it builds that, it strengthens that loyalty between us as a team. And they genuinely know that I have their back, that I am going to be in the trench with them. I'm going to work alongside them. I believe in a model called servant leadership. I think that it is important for leaders to be right there with their team. And when you do that, when you're that type of a leader, your team will not respond to you necessarily because you have authority. They will respond to you because you have influence. And that is really the essence of great leadership. A great leader has influence with the people that they are leading.
I got that. Influence. That's a great one. So to bring this to an end, Catherine, what would you like to leave the audience with, like a final thought? And to those folks who like to reach out to you, learn more about the wonderful stuff you're doing, or even ask you questions, how can that be possible?
I would love that. I think the audience, I think in general, every individual needs to understand that even though you may be struggling with a lack of organization, or you are not finding the motivation to do the things that you need to do, you are not broken. It is just a simple matter that you have not found the appropriate tools. And we can help with that through the Focus Blueprint. We can certainly come alongside you and aid you in learning those tools and developing new strategies to bring you tremendous success in your life.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm excited about that. Thank you so very much. So that's going to be the end of the show, Catherine. Thank you for coming and thank you for sharing this wonderful stuff with us. It means a whole lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Elisha.
That was a beautiful